I still know a lot of homeless people. And the interesting thing about some of the homeless people that I know is they don't consider themselves homeless. You know, because to them, their home is about community. Their home is about having connections, knowing where they can go and have a meal, knowing that they can go and talk to somebody.
And we were going to change the conversation about housing from one of a welfare approach to one of an infrastructure approach. And when councils are looking at this, Daniel and Mayor, you need to think about housing as an investment in infrastructure that supports people's participation socially, culturally and economically. And that's really what housing represents. It's an infrastructure investment. It's not a residual welfare investment, which is the approach that Australia's had to these issues for the last 30 years.
What we need to do is to find a way to bring people's interests together to make something happen. Because no one is going to do it other than the people who have the interests.
Size, thank you very much. You could get this, this and this if you do it.
Name incentives.
It's about saying, yes, I'm happy to go to meetings and get involved in the work of this group.
Affordable housing models for further consideration.
Wonderful community land trust initiatives happening locally. We've got next sort of work on the ground with the environmental stuff, that the housing needs analysis, all it indicates that this community is taking its destiny in its own hands to some extent, rather than relying on a federal government that is really not showing as much leadership.
Ask people to think about, we've got these great ideas, how best do we take them forward?
We're at the moment now, we're looking at where does the place want to be and developing the vision. That's kind of where we're at the moment in terms of the workflow. And ultimately, how will the place get there will be the action plan. So when we put the final strategy on public exhibition, hopefully it will be a clear plan of action to achieve the sorts of outcomes that we're looking for. And
I think that, we've got this opportunity right now where we've got a predominance of what you might call progressive councillors who, what these guys are going to, the planning section are going to come back to us and say, this is the mix we think is the best thing. It's, we're still one of the only shires in the state that have got a provision for new multiple occupancies. Everyone else has whipped them. We want to hold that. At this point, they're going to come back to us and say, inclusion, rezoning, tiny house villages, multiple occupancies, these are the things, these are the tools to have, and we're going to say, we trust you, we've heard it from the community, let's do it. But what we need from everyone here is for that storytelling about how important this is for you and how important it is to be on local government's agenda to go to all councils.
They heard the challenge that if you make plans that are strategic and aspirational and look to a better future that you can demonstrate, then we will let you do what you think is appropriate within that strategic framework. So hats off to Ballington Council, because their planning process that they're involved in at the moment, growth management strategy and all of the attendant things you've heard today, make this place the hotspot for that vision to be enabled. Fascinating that we were talking the same language, the same set of concerns around addressing homelessness, and stupid Skip in the room, me, says, well, it might impact on you a bit more here in winter. And the Finnish guy just looked at me and said, of course, you understand. Like people freeze to death when they're homeless in Helsinki and Finland.
Do it now. Get these houses in backyards. Let's stop talking about it. Let's just bloody well do it. And if we talk about activism, I don't really want to encourage this, but part of me does. But I would one day, if we don't get this to happen, and we still end up having as many older single women and as as men, and when I say older single women, I mean, and then all the other homeless people out there, are the people who don't have a home. I actually think one day we might have to have a whole bunch of little old ladies down in State and on Parliament House in Sydney with their tiny houses saying, I dare you to arrest me. You just go ahead. So again, let's do it.